And I don't know if we have a joke or not.
Off you go.
Oh, okay. Here we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of our Between Two Teachers on this day. What is it, November 14th. So I am Consuelo Lara.
I'm Madeline Cronenberg. And as always, we greet you from the sacred land of the Chochenyo, Karken, Ohlone ancient peoples. And we honor their history and look forward to having everybody do that in meetings now as we look back and honor the history of the native peoples whose land we are on. This week, we of course are still in pandemic times. That's why I'm still in my pandemic classroom. Nationally, things have gotten so much worse, and internationally, things have gotten worse as far as the pandemic goes. It's been a very scary time, and there are countries that are shutting down again because of the second surge. But as I said last week, the countries even that are shutting down, nobody's shutting down their schools. They're continuing to have their schools open. But what they've done is they've done a lot of social distancing. And they invest more in their schools to begin with, right? So there's all of that. And even in France, France has universal daycare, universal childcare, pre-K, right? Preschool. Yeah. And they haven't closed at all. They're all open. For us, nationally, there's schools that now in different states are starting to close. So in New York, which was open this weekend, they sent out an email to all of their principals that they needed to be ready to close as of Monday. And they have a really a different standard because they had suffered so much in the beginning of the year. When they hit 3%, which is much lower than California, because they've been down to 1%, but now they're moving back up. If you hit 3%, and yesterday they were 2.8%. That's why they think, as they measure it every day, that by tomorrow they're going to send something out and tell their parents that they're closed. And that's, that just shows you that's the biggest system that's open in the country. So it is a truly staggering problem for everybody's school system. And some of them are open, some even locally still have some that are opening. Piedmont has started to open because they have additional funding sources from their community. LAUSD put out some list of what they were going to do to open. But everybody needs to have the ability for us to be safe. Everybody's talking about the big thing is testing. If you can't test people, you don't know how to protect them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So yeah. Hopefully the Biden administration, when it comes in, and maybe hopefully before that, we will have a national testing system and the vaccine and all of those things will come together. But it doesn't look like it's going to be right. It's not going to be right away.
No.
Not going to be right away.
That's right.
The Biden group, right? Our President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris have an education transition team, which is a really powerful thing. And on that team, they do have members. They have union members, and that's a huge difference from the team that Mr. Trump put together with Ms. DeVos, right, where it was all ed reform. And so they are Linda Darling-Hammond from California is the head of it. She's already said she doesn't want to be Secretary of Education, so they're looking for who that person will be. And Tony Thurmond is on the list of people they're looking at.
What? I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
But it's a long list. I don't want to, it's not like just Tony is on the list. There's a lot of folks on the list. But yeah. But it's an exciting thing, and what we can all hope is that they will get somebody. I think the most important thing that one person said was that, or a couple of folks have said, is it should be a classroom teacher. Yeah. It could be right. It could be somebody who's from the teachers union who was a classroom teacher. That's something we have not had. Arnie Duncan was not a classroom teacher. Certainly Betsy was not a classroom teacher. That would make a big difference to the teachers in general. So the former president of the National Education Association is somebody people are looking at. The AFT president, Randy Weingarten, she's on the list. So there's a lot of folks on the list, but I really hope they get a teacher. So anyhow, that's the agency review teams, all of the transition information is they're moving along, even though there's no concession and all these other things happening at the White House. Doesn't matter. People could go ahead and do their work. San Francisco has January 25th as their day to return, to open their schools. So that's interesting. They've announced that. Now, whether that will stay, it's all a question of the surge, right? But San Francisco as an area, I guess as a county, has kept their numbers down for a lot of different reasons, because there are fewer people in San Francisco. There's not people going into work there. There's so we'll see if they're able to actually pull that off. And LA also had some dates that they were going to put in, and we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. Oakland has not put any dates out, but Oakland has a really interesting program where they've declared themselves a Black sanctuary district. And it's sort of along the lines of West Contra Costa, where we're working with our African-American community and looking at issues around African-American culture and student performance. But Oakland is very much leading on doing that. The other things I did, well, here we are able, well, we're not totally able to announce the results of the election. We think we can announce it. We've had a big flip. Miss Laura is now the leading candidate in the county trustee election, which means that everybody we had supported is in the lead. There are still a few votes to count. There are still a few races that are a little bit close. I think we're fine, but we can't announce it for absolute sure till the last vote is counted. But we're pretty sure that you're moving on to the county, right?
Yeah, it looks like that. Boy, this was a nail biter to the last minute, and
it still sort of is.
It still sort of is. Yeah. And like you said, it feels like it was a sweep, really, of the values that we have. It was a movement, and it was a clear message from the community. They don't want the seats to be bought by corporations or charter schools. I mean, that was clear. So it's things are changing for sure.
Now you and Francisco Ortiz was the gentleman from CTA, who is a genius campaign organizer. I'm the one who said he was like the architect Karl Rove, and I think he's the architect Francisco Ortiz. You were both on yesterday with Kitty Kelly Epstein and on a KPFA radio program called Education Today, and I have a link to it on our resource page, and where you talked about the election. So you want to share out?
Yeah, the questions were really good, because it was like, why did you win? How were you able to win? And then her last question I thought was good too. Was about what can we, what could other districts learn from our elections? And so those are things that I gave a lot of thought to. But in terms of like strategy and all of that, there was a whole, even behind the scenes, there were people getting together, there were coalitions, there was a team, and like Francisco said, they started early.
Right.
Started early. That's a big key. The coalitions that they formed, and the process to pick the people apparently was pretty, complete to where they need to make sure where these people were coming from, what their values were, etc. And I have to tell you, I mean, I didn't know two of them very well, and they are just wonderful. Jamila, I just met her at our first meeting, and Othari. The thing that strikes me about Othari, he's the only person I've ever heard use the word love when
Exactly.
he talks about our children and our schools, and that's what you want. You want leadership, because when you were
Right.
talking about the pandemic and closing and opening, this is the time when you need good leadership. You know, this is why Biden's win is so important. And locally, we need to have good leadership. And that's why an issue, you know, we've got this issue with getting a new superintendent, and we've got, so now the leadership in terms of our board, because they are the governing board, and having the best leadership. And I feel like the slate of these four individuals is amazing. But so as far as what we did and how others can learn from it, the starting early, the process of vetting people and getting the supporters, the unions and endorsements, also the message, just the message of these were all individuals who had public school experience,
Right.
and were, you know, fighters and organizers and leaders within the context of public schools.
Right.
So, and they could bring that message forward. And my personal message right up on top was that I will not take any charter money. I don't believe in co-locations, and I'm totally against privatizing public education. So that was a strong message for me personally. So the experience and accomplishments, endorsements, and starting early and creating just this movement. That's how it felt as a candidate. I'm part of a bigger thing here. This is really a movement. And to the point that, you know, for that first week when I didn't think I was going to make it, I was still happy. I was still happy because the movement was winning, you know.
Yes, because
I
they
don't
were
think-
absolutely. I mean,
yeah, way above. I mean, so it's a wonderful thing. So that's one of the things that I think people could learn, or some of the things that others can learn from this. And then, of course, Oakland, the same thing. They got, did they get 3 out of their 4?
yes, maybe 4, but certainly 3.
Oh, we don't know yet. That's true. There's
This is the whole thing with all of them, right? Some of them. I mean, there are some races that are that there is no question, because it's such a even among the different candidates, there's a candidate who got over 50%. Well,
yeah,
who's going to win?
So far ahead.
Right.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
not everybody else is, right? And
yeah.
so you have to wait and wait for the last vote to be counted. I mean, that's what you have to do.
I mean, I didn't pull ahead until a week later. It was the Tuesday after.
Right. But they had 70,000 votes to count. And that was, you know, anyway, you just never know. You just
never know. Yeah, for sure.
Know.
So we still are there. That's where we are in the middle of, you know, still the elections. It just seems to drag on forever. And, but it gives us time to start making plans, to start writing those resolutions, building those relationships, finding a working group at the county level, and sharing. One of the big things I want to do is share with people what the County Board of Education really does. So I will be sharing a lot of that, you know, Facebook, on different places, and here as well. So we'll be doing that.
It's a very exciting opportunity for people to learn. And it's not just what, you know, there's what it does, and there's also what it can do, right? Where it can be expanded and it can do more. And as I've looked at different counties and how they operate, they're all operating under the same law, but there really is a big range in terms of how they're operating and their results, right? So,
and what we do is we look for best practices.
Exactly.
So we'll be bringing those as well.
Exactly, and they are definitely out there. So one of them is the data book resolution, right? Because one of the best practices that we've found in the world of charter management is to show transparency. And that is to take the charter documents and sort of put them in a way that can be organized. The information can be organized clearly and people can see what each charter brings to the table. And the way that it's been done in Santa Clara County, where they have put together a charter data book, I think is the clearest way of all, because it pulls out all of the information, how much how they're using the money that they receive for each child. So if that could be done statewide, I think it would make it so that the public would better understand how the business of the nonprofit charters. Our charters are all nonprofit, but they're businesses nonetheless, and they charge fees. People make money off of them. They have salaries, just like public schools do. And up until now, there's been it's been difficult to get that information clearly in one place. It's sort of deep inside different reports, but this strategy pulls it out and makes it easier to find.
Absolutely.
And that's going to make a big difference, I think. There was also, so I've got that up here on the Trello, and also a podcast that has to do with privatization that Mr. Seltzer recommended. So I just wanted, if somebody wants to watch that, they can, and then they can also click on your Katie Epstein program, the link to the program. Then I just want to add in a couple of updates. And we talked about Jamel Bowman. Do you remember that name? The guy who was the middle school principal from the Bronx. Well, he is now a congressman from the Bronx. And he ran on anti-privatization. That's what he ran on, and he is now in Congress.
Wow.
You go to his page, that's what you see. So I think that I was fascinated by his campaign, and he's in. And there aren't that many middle school principals who wind up in Congress, right? Who are not ed reformers, who are the real deal.
Yeah. Oh.
So that he's a big success. Prop 15 did not pass.
Yeah.
The schools and communities did not pass. So there's going to have to be another strategy for that. Prop 18, so that was the additional funding for schools. So that funding is not there. Prop 18, which would have allowed students to vote in the primary if they were old enough to vote in the general election, did not pass. So that was interesting to me. Anyway, it didn't pass. So those are the two updates on that. And another update is this week, there is a youth-led town hall by West Contra Costa students. You familiar with that? It's coming up. So if somebody wants to attend that and hear what the students have to say, they may also be talking about the superintendent search, because I hope that the student board members are included in the superintendent search committee and are included in the closed session conversations, because they were the last time. And so it would be, I didn't hear anybody talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, you could bring that up to make sure that we continue the West Contra Costa tradition of including student board members in the vote.
Absolutely. Okay.
As full members.
Yeah.
And then the only other things, there's a couple of, there's another group of the African-American families who have a something called Have Our Back. It's the demands around making sure that the Biden-Harris ticket keeps their promises to the African-American community. And they've made a lot of promises, and they certainly brought them to the table, and it's really important that they do keep that. And that's, I also have a link to that.
Okay.
And so for a shout out, I wanted to give a shout out to Thousand Oaks Elementary, which it has been proposed will be renamed Kamala Harris Elementary.
Saw that. Yes, isn't that great?
That is going to happen. It is going to happen. So that's the most, it is such a wonderful story. It really is a wonderful story.
Absolutely.
And then the Board of Supervisors of Contra Costa County did a really interesting thing last week. They had a resolution. We're always talking about resolutions, but that's where it starts. Declaring racism as a public health crisis.
I saw that too. Isn't that fascinating? Now that
Opens a lot of doors.
absolutely, absolutely. Because this pandemic shows how,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
absolutely. Oh my
Right.
God.
So that's been done, and that's so that's something to follow, and that's something I don't know that there are many other counties. One thing, Contra Costa is a unique county in many ways in terms of being proactive. So I'm not sure many other counties have done that, but they have. So those are my shout outs are to the Berkeley, the school board in the city of Berkeley on the Kamala Harris Elementary, and Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors for that resolution and declaration.
Great.
You have a shout out?
Yeah, I have a shout out, and then I have the joke that
Okay.
we're gonna do. Okay. So my shout out is to Francisco Ortiz,
Yes.
who I had that interview with. And I just want to tell people I came to this district in 1998 to 1999. Might have been 97 to 99. That's when I first came, and I taught at Crespi Middle School. And in my, and up there, I taught ELD and social studies. And in my social studies class, I had a young student by the name of Francisco Ortiz. And he is now, you know, I'm on the radio with him. So
yes.
he is just, I'm just amazed, you know, that he's a teacher at Ford. He's an amazing man. So I just have
he's apparently also in Miss Epstein's class, her program at Holy Names.
At Holy Names.
Both of you. That was so interesting to me. You were both his teachers.
Both his teachers. Isn't that something? So that I'm just so proud of him. And I love telling him. He gets so embarrassed, like I'm the proud mama.
Yes.
I love it. All righty. Are we ready for a joke?
We are ready.
Okay. All right. This is a silly one. Oh, they're all silly, aren't they? What am I saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, what's different?
Yeah.
Okay. What did Earth say to the other planets?
I don't know.
Losers, you guys have no life. I think he made that one up.
That's a good one. That's in our election, the loser theme of the election, right?
Oh, the loser thing. Yeah. And we know.
Yes. Some of us.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Next week. Bye-bye.